The economic miracle of Singapore. In 1965, world experts gave this tiny island almost zero chance of survival. It had no natural resources, no oil, no farmland. It didn't even have enough fresh water to sustain its own population. Fast forward to today, Singapore is one of the richest nations on earth per capita, housing one of the world's busiest ports and premier financial centers. How did a resource-poor island transform from a struggling colony into a global economic powerhouse in less than a single generation? Let's break down the blueprint of the Singaporean miracle. The impossible beginning, 1965. When Singapore was unexpectedly ousted from the Malaysian Federation in August 1965, it wasn't a moment of triumph, it was an existential crisis. Unemployment was over 10%, racial tensions were high, and housing was mostly squalid slums. Unlike most developing nations that relied on exporting agriculture or minerals, Singapore had nothing in the ground to sell. What it did have was location, sitting right at the mouth of the Strait of Malacca, one of the narrowest and busiest maritime choke points in human history. To survive, founding Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew and his team realized they had to make Singapore indispensable to the rest of the world. The three pillars of the miracle. Leapfrogging the region for foreign direct investment, FDI. While neighboring countries were skeptical of Western multinational corporations, Singapore invited them in. They slashed corporate taxes, built top-tier infrastructure, and guaranteed a safe, English-speaking environment. Companies like Texas Instruments and Hewlett-Packard jumped at the chance to build factories here. 2. The Housing Development Board, HDB. To build a nation, people need a stake in it. Through the HDB, the government built high-quality public housing and allowed citizens to buy their homes using their mandatory retirement savings, the Central Provident Fund. Today, over 80% of Singaporeans live in HDB flats, creating unprecedented social stability. Unforgiving anti-corruption standards. To attract global finance, trust was paramount. Singapore paid its government officials and civil servants top-tier market salaries, making bribery unnecessary. Upgrading from manufacturing to tech and finance. By the 1980s, cheap labor wasn't enough. Other Asian nations were catching up. So Singapore did something rare. It proactively disrupted its own economy before it failed. The nation heavily invested in technical universities, retrained its workforce, and transitioned from basic manufacturing into high-value sectors, oil refining, pharmaceuticals, biotechnology, and wealth management. Today, Jurong Island processes millions of barrels of oil daily despite Singapore producing no crude oil of its own. And an intense high-pressure education system. Furthermore, as a low-lying island, climate change and global supply chain shifts present real risks. Yet, Singapore proves a fundamental economic truth. A nation's most valuable asset isn't what's buried in its soil, it's the skills, stability, and foresight of its people. What lesson do you think other developing nations should take from Singapore's story? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit that subscribe button for more economic stories. And I'll see you in the next video.